Welcome back. In this video, I get to ask my friends and family what my FND was like for them.
Okay, so what word? I got, but again, edit this out. So, what was it like for you to watch me go through FND?
Yeah, I think it's the understanding that you brought into um, the picture of that this is not a mental illness. That this FND is not something that you have just sort of psychologically manufactured, but it is a physiological response to some things that aren't fully understood.
I I'm a very solution-based person and problem-solving person. And so my take on it was just kind of absorbing all of this new data and information about your symptoms. It's kind of like when Caitlin was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré.
Yeah.
There's a period of uncertainty and a period of not misinformation, but a lack of information. And so it was really just trying to look at all of the data in a very subjective way and not be so presumptuous about things because I don't have a medical background. And so it was kind of my take on it was absorb the information, process it as subjectively as possible, and use my knowledge to try and be some kind of emotional support.
I had a friend who had autism growing up. It was really helpful for when it was compared to autism, like when you were going through FND, like being trapped in your body and like not controlling your actions or your words. It really helped to be compared to autism because I understood that a little bit better than I understood FND. And so that really helped me grasp like a little bit of what you were going through. So I think that's another thing is like making it and comparing it a little bit to like things people know because then it will get them to understand a little better if they can compare it to like, oh, I understand it's a little bit like this and a little bit like that, and so they can see where you're coming from a little
Mostly
better.
just you and your mom telling us what you needed, and actually reaching out and doing things. Because while I would try to reach out on my own, like I still had a lot of other stuff going on. So just letting us know what you needed when you needed it. Obviously, we were going to be there for you. So it was just, I think that was just the most helpful thing between that and just being more educated about FND, because I once again didn't know anything about it, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, Haley, help me out here. So I just had to educate myself, and y'all just telling me like what you needed personally. That's definitely I think what helped the most.
I think as time went by, I just kind of like noticed more and more things that were associated with FND. And even with you doing these videos now, like those videos are definitely helping me understand it more, along with doing the research on the side while you were going through that. But even Google searches helped me out only so much, you know?
So, what was the most helpful thing for you to understand what was happening to me? Or what would have been the most helpful thing?
Honestly, mostly it was really, really scary. Because in your case, it took a while for FND to be the diagnosis. So those of us around you did not know what was going on, as did many of your physicians. So that unknown was really, really frightening. And then not knowing how to respond to the unknown is another layer of frightening. So I think there was a lot of frustration in that, and just simply not understanding that made it difficult to know then how to respond well. But as we talked about before, that well, if nothing else, if I were in your shoes, I think I'd want my friends and family there, at least showing up. And so, even though I was pretty ignorant, and many of us were in the beginning, that ability just to say, okay, I can be there when possible. It brings us to a sort of a point of helplessness, but we're really not ultimately helpless when we can go and do what in our gut, I guess we know is the right thing to do. Um, and what would I want in that position is um, sort of the became the baseline for me anyhow of I don't have to have all the answers, but I can be that presence there for Haley and her mom, um, because that's what friends would do. And
I know that it was, you know, a huge proponent of conversation with our family was checking in on you, seeing how things were going, which procedure you were about to start, how you were recovering from a previous procedure, that kind of thing. So I know a lot of our family was pretty concerned with staying up to date about your current condition. But it's really exciting to see that now I think you have a greater mental understanding of FND, even though there's very little data about it. And that's really nice for you, but it's also nice for other people in the FND community because you can act as a steward for those people that are in their preliminary stages of not understanding what's going on and not knowing how to cope.
Yeah.
I remember the first day, and I don't know why I hadn't seen you in so long, but I remember walking in that door right there, and then you having a seizure on your couch. I feel like I handled it okay, but I had no earthly idea what was going on. Like, I didn't know you were that was a thing that you were doing, and, like, I just wanted to cry because I was like, "What is happening to my friend? Like, she's going through something, and I can't help her."
That's a hard question because I think in the beginning I didn't understand what was happening. And so I was kind of just taken aback and I didn't really know what to do. But as you started to learn more about your symptoms and we started to learn more about your symptoms, I think everyone started becoming a lot more educated about it because I never even heard of FND before. Like, you had all of these symptoms going on, and I just remember I was really scared the first time I saw you have a seizure. It was at your house. What were we doing? I think we were doing like a game or something, and I came and saw you because I knew that you weren't like doing very well. This is when your seizures first started. And I remember you started seizing, and your mom was like, "Don't freak out. She's fine. She can hear you. Just talk to her." And so I think I've learned that, like, with people that have FND or just medical issues in general, it just depends on the person. And like, I appreciate you telling us what's going on and what you need from us because I wouldn't have known what to do if you didn't say anything and didn't speak about your needs. And so it was just hard to see you go through that.
Me,
Like,
because I first of all, I didn't know anything about FND. I just knew that you were having a hard time. I knew that you're having seizures along with other kinds of things, but it just kind of hurt to like see you go through that and not be able to do anything about it because I didn't know how to help. So,
Um, so I think for me, I felt really heartbroken for you guys, for one. I definitely went through a time of just because it was so um because the symptoms were there were so many symptoms and because the symptoms were so strange, like I definitely questioned like could Haley be going crazy, because I had never heard of FND. it was definitely one of those things that I had to kind of process through. But then I thought, she's had such a traumatic experience. It just seems like she has lost the ability to be able to even process it. So for me, um, when you guys started talking about conversion disorder um, and then FND, that was the first time I'd ever heard of it. So I remember doing some reading about it after you got that diagnosis and thinking like, wow, that does seem really spot on. Like it seems like a lot of the symptoms match up. And so for me, going through that, just that process of like, I'm sure the same as what you and your mom going through of like, wow, what in the world? Like this is crazy. Poor Haley, she's already been through so much. And then it just seems like um her body is like betraying her and her mind is betraying her. Um but at some point I finally just realized like, it's not for me to like have all the answers or figure it out. Like I'm just supposed to come alongside her and love her and support her through it and like be available even if it is hard, like even if it's hard to go over there and see Haley going through such a hard time, but that I felt very much like that's what I was supposed to do. So it's definitely like a bit of a process for me of just sort of seeing you go through it and feeling so uncertain and so helpless, but then coming to that conclusion of like, I don't need to have the answers. I just need to love her through it and just be there for her and her mom as they're over their heads. So
That sums up my Q&A series for FND Awareness Month 2020. If you missed any of the videos, you can watch them on Courageous Us. A huge thank you to my friends and family who let me interview them for these last 2 videos. I also want to thank you for taking the time to watch these videos and becoming FND aware.